Welcome to another edition of Chit Chat. Today we have a great show for you. Alon Day, four-time European NASCAR champ, an Israeli who's a member of the IDF whose home was destroyed during the October 7th invasion by Hamas, is here to talk with us today. So it's going to be a great conversation. Welcome to another episode of Chit Chat, and today I am honored to be with Alon Day, who is a four-time European NASCAR champion, and he is Israeli, and he's here for the 500. So I want to welcome you to Daytona Beach.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
And
it's a big honor.
At the end of this conversation, we're going to see if we can get you in next year's Daytona 500.
I hope we can make it for this weekend.
All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career?
As you said, I'm a NASCAR driver, European champion, four-time European champion. Israeli, born and raised in Israel, still live in Israel, love this country. Served in the military, in the IDF. For 3 years, like every other person in Israel. I'm trying to raise the awareness about what's going on in Israel and about the Jewish community in general around the world, and trying to, Well,
I want to thank you for your military service. Even though it's mandatory, it's still the fact that you're there defending your country and defending us.
We don't have any other option.
I understand. So I think you're familiar with what occurred last year here during the 500. I'm here almost 18 years now, served as the police chief and as the sheriff, and I never saw hatred in this community before that I saw on Speed Weeks. This group, this GDL group, this Goyim Defense League came in. They took over our pedestrian bridges, hanging out signs about death to Israel. Henry Ford was right. Hitler was right. They had a projector that scrolled messages on the facade of the Speedway, calling for death to Jews and all this other ugly, hateful rhetoric that was put up there. And then that night they papered our neighborhoods throughout the entire county. Mm-hmm. They had Ziploc bags with wood chips in it to simulate the gassing in Germany in World War II, with all kind of hateful literature, and they dropped it on people's driveways. So it actually brought a lot of fear into our community by a bunch of. It was a rogues gallery of who's who of criminals. It really, when we identified them and we found out what their criminal history is. I mean, they were in there for child pornography, for aggravated assault with a firearm, DUI, drug charges. I mean, it was just a who's who of scumbags.
As an Israeli, the most of the thing I deal with, the country itself, is enemies. We fight. We have the war right now, and the sad thing that's going on. But how we fight, I wonder how we fight a group of hate speech group that's trying to do something. What's the way to fight? If there are terrorists, then you go and probably shoot, kill, whatever you need to do to eliminate them. But when it's in your own country, people that actually grew up and live here, what's the way to deal with that?
Yeah, well, what they do is they wrap themselves in the First Amendment. It's free speech. Well, free speech has its limits. And when you talk about eradicating a people because of their race, their religion, their sexual orientation, or ethnicity, that's not free speech anymore. And from my perspective, when you look at the mass shootings that we've had in this country recently, whether it was the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, if it was the predominantly black grocery store in Buffalo, New York, if it was the Walmart in El Paso, mostly Hispanics population, and the black church in South Carolina, all of these hate groups are on these internet chat rooms talking about how somebody has to pay for whatever their ills are, whatever the problems of society are, how you have to wipe the Jews off the face of the earth, you have to wipe the blacks, you have to wipe the gay. And somebody in that chat room figures they're going to be an avenging angel and grabs a gun and then goes and wipes out innocent people. And that's where people get confused with our First Amendment, because they're in there inciting some marginalized individual to take some kind of action that's going to destroy human life.
That's crazy. I'm trying to think what's the way to deal with that. I wonder if that's education. So many times I hear right now there is a big conversation about what's going on between Israel and Hamas and things like that. And the amount of misinformation and disinformation on the internet that people just, shouting things that they don't even know. And I think that's the main issue right now, that people don't even know what's going on in other countries, in Israel, they don't even know the Jewish history to know exactly, and they say stuff sometimes it's not even right, like not even a fact. They just invent it.
People are lazy, not to interrupt you. They'd rather read a post on the internet and they take that as gospel. Do they know what Hezbollah stands for? Do they know what they do? Do they have any idea? They know what Hamas does? They don't know that. They adopt this flavor of the day, and they don't look at the fact that what is their mantra here? Their mantra is they hate the Jews and they hate the United States. And once if they're successful and eradicate Israel off the face of the map, guess where they're coming, folks? They're coming right here. They're here now. And you have to be on guard against hatred at all times. You just have to. Education's nice, but education's not the key. I mean, we do it here. Just my opinion, Nazi Germany came into existence because the police kind of helped. The police let them themselves get corrupted. So we make sure in our academy that every single recruit takes a trip over to Tampa to see the Holocaust Museum. In the near future, Orlando's opening one up. And I want the new recruits to go and understand that. You have to learn history if you're going to police it. And if we get corrupted in law enforcement, it makes it that much easier for hatred to succeed.
Well, thank you for, I think, raising the voice of the Jewish community and the awareness about what's going on and fighting against groups like that. I think that's something that, I want to thank you personally. I want to thank you on behalf of Israel in general, but I'm just Alon Day. But
I think
that's more than we can ever.
We're all human beings, and one thing that I always remember from history, 8th grade history, when we were learning about World War II and the Holocaust, was the German preacher who said, "When they came for the socialists, I said nothing, for I was not a socialist. When they came for the unionists, I said nothing, for I was not a unionist. When they came for the Jews, I said nothing, because I was not a Jew. And when they came for me, there was nobody left to say anything." Mm-hmm. And those words, all those years later, they still resonate. When that group hit our county, that was the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm not going to sit there on my hands and knees and just say, oh my God, I'm not going to poke the bear and maybe they'll just go away. No, we have to do everything humanly possible to make sure that they get crushed for what they believe in and what they want to do to another segment of our humanity.
And they target you personally?
They did. They don't know. They didn't realize I shoot back, number one, and they didn't realize that I have a pretty good social media footprint. So when we held a press conference in this room a couple days after the incident at the Speedway, and we invited everybody. We invited the community. We invited Muslims. We invited Sikh faith, Catholics, Baptists. We invited everybody, and everybody showed up to stand with our Jewish community and say this is not going to be tolerated. And then we showed the videos that they shot, their own videos where they were outside of a synagogue in Orlando, basically just going after the rabbi and all the folks that were coming into worship, what they did in our community, and we identified them all, and then we put up their arrest records. Here's their name, here's where they live, and here's what they've been arrested before. And they went wild with that. They swatted my house,
really?
Swatted my parents. They called my daughter at work, one of my daughters at work, and told her about how I was a pedophile and that she should be raped and have her ears cut off. And then they started posting shit about putting bullets in my head and everything else. Of course, when you're doing it on the internet, you're really not going to do it. You don't have the guts to do it. So we were fortunate enough. We made 4 arrests. And in one of the arrests, and several of the arrests, I met the guys when they landed here at the airport. I stood at the bottom of the escalator to watch them come down, just to let them know,
nice.
Hey, I'm the guy who
That's
you want
me.
to threaten.
Yeah.
But this year we're a little bit more prepared. Last year we got caught off guard. Representative Randy Fine from the state of Florida really was instrumental in passing a lot of these laws that we have in place now, the stalking law. So based on your religious dress, if somebody wants to run around with a bullhorn and scream horrible things at you, you can be arrested for stalking. Going on private property and dropping those leaflets is now criminal felony trespass. projection on the wall now, that is also a crime. So we have all that. And last year they took over the overpasses. So we have the law codified on that. If they get on the overpasses and they hang anything, any type of banners, they're going to be arrested for that. So, we're ready this year. Last year, they got us. This year, if they show up, we have a welcoming party for them.
I'm here too.
And we love it.
I can help.
We love it. We love it. We'll put you to work. I'll deputize you.
Yeah, I'm going to train now.
We already got you the hat. We'll get you outside and qualify you. And
Yeah, just give me the uniform. I'm already have a...
So what's the difference between NASCAR, just to switch gears, between NASCAR here and NASCAR Europe?
Basically, it's the same. Eventually, it's the same car, same kind of philosophy that the car build, a bit of less horsepower. But it's the same. The biggest difference is the racetracks. Here in America, they do mainly ovals. In Europe, we mainly drive on Formula One tracks or historical big tracks where you have to brake and turn also right. So yeah, that's the biggest difference, and that's also my specialty. When I come here to the States and I want to race in Cup, and that's one of my goals to race in NASCAR here is to be a road course specialist and to drive in those road courses races and try to obviously win everything I can. That's the biggest.
What's the fan base like in Europe as compared to the fan base here?
Europe is more cold, so I think the persons are the same, but race fans are race fans. Doesn't matter worldwide, doesn't matter where you are. People love, they really love racing and they love the sports. And I can tell you that through my whole career, I met so many people also from enemy countries for Israel. I met people from Iran, Lebanon, Syria. And every time when I met them on the racetrack, everything is just beautiful. Like we can actually communicate and have a good life. And I think that's the beautiful thing about sports.
I agree with you. I was just going to say that sports has a way of transcending politics. When you're on that field or you're in that car competing against somebody, it's athlete versus athlete.
Yeah.
There are no political ideologies there. It's
exactly.
I want to win because I think I'm better, and that's I think that's a very profound in how you say that.
I wish the only war was on the racetrack.
Could be on a racetrack or on a soccer field or anywhere.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned about your identification tag.
Yeah, that's the hostages dog tag. To raise the awareness about the hostages that's still there in Gaza. I actually used to live in one of the kibbutzes, one of the villages next to the Gaza border. And during the October 7th, I lost a few friends. And I have 4 of them right now hostages in Gaza, which blow my mind. The fact that somebody just woke up in the morning. He didn't even woke up. It was 6:30 in the morning. Somebody came into his house with a gun and took him somewhere he don't even know. It must be terrifying. So yeah, I wish they will all come back.
What does it say
now?
What does it mention their names? No,
it's just bring them home now. That's the slogan for the hostages. Obviously, it's such a difficult situation because we want to beat Hamas, we want to, get rid of them, but at the same time, we also have the hostages right now inside. So you have to be careful. You cannot. I'm not right now in the IDF, but right. I can imagine you cannot do too many.
You mentioned before we started talking. You mentioned that October 7th was your 9/11. And by the size of Israel, population-wise, you threw a number out that was kind of like
that was
amazing. Had on the magnitude here in America, it would have been, I think you said 44,000 lives.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Lost.
I think
somebody else
Biden
put that number out there, which it's mind-boggling to think of that 44,000 for us.
Yeah.
So that's how that correlates into how much
that's
of a
how big it was.
This was for the Israeli people.
I don't think people really understand how small Israel is and how terrified people were on October 7th. Like we actually thought they might conquer us. That's going to be. We need to survive, and like I said, we have no other options. We have to fight, and everybody. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Israel. It doesn't matter your political side. what you think, what is your background, whatever. When you have to go to the reserve, to the military, everybody go to the military, and we don't even think twice.
One of the things that I was impressed with, and I'm sure people could disagree, even though there are hostages there, and even though everybody is praying that the hostages get out alive, the government still had a job to do.
Yeah.
The government still had to go after the bad guy, and it couldn't be held paralyzed by the hostages. I know it's easy for me to say that because my family and friends aren't being held hostage, but from sitting from afar and being a police leader, knowing, hey, there's a job that has to be done. Sure, we'll do everything to get the hostages home, but at the same token, we cannot just idly stand by here. We have to be on the offensive at all times.
Yeah, and I think also the pressure that Israel put on Hamas, that's one of the reasons why we managed to get them out, actually. I don't know if you know, but 2 days ago, the SWAT team in Israel, I don't know if you call it SWAT, but commando team in Israel managed to rescue 2 hostages, and hopefully, we will be...
And capture 20 terrorists hiding in a hospital.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, that's...
People don't want to look into that, hey, you know,
exactly. People don't want to look at that.
Shields.
We bring the facts, we show them, come on, they are they look like a doctor, everything, they look like they work in the hospital, but eventually they have a AK-47 under, I don't know, somewhere. So people don't understand that, and I think that's the main issue of Israel right now, to try to, you know, talk about it and show people the real what's going on, the real thing what's going on in Israel right now.
People have to want to see, though. That's the problem. People, you can show them all you want, but if they're not seeing with their eyes, then you know you're never going to change that perception. But I can tell you from Sheriff Chitwood, my family, and from me personally, that I pray that your folks who are being held hostage are released safely, and for those that have lost their lives, that they are in eternal life with God. And I pray that the Israeli people come out of this stronger than they went into it.
Thank you very much. I super appreciate that. And again, everything you did for the Jewish community, for the, you know, those kind of radical groups, even though it's far from Israel, far from us, but we fight for every piece of, you know, anti-Semitic, I don't know how you say that.
You said it, anti-Semitic, you're right. You know, that's one of the great things with this county, Volusia County. You know, when it happened, it didn't matter the color of your skin, it didn't matter your religion, it didn't matter your political party. Everybody that came into this room was there for one reason and one reason alone, and that was to stand by Israel and stand by our Jewish community. And I am grateful for that. And I think that's how you keep evil on its heels, because you don't let it grow roots, because then you got a problem.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I wish I could talk on behalf of Israel in general, but I want to thank you. Thank you very much for everything you did for the Jewish community and fighting against.
Thank you. We're all part of the same race, man, the human race. We're all part of the same thing. So,
yeah, that's true.
So I hope you really enjoy yourself. I'll probably see you out at the track. I'll be out there Sunday. You did bring the core European weather with you. It's going to be 57 and wet.
I'm coming from Israel. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you've ever been in Israel.
I have not.
That's like desert.
That's on the bucket list to get to Israel.
Yeah, you should.
But you know, normally it's 70 degrees here, and it's a beautiful.
Yeah, I'm coming from 100 degrees country, so
you're going to
maybe tomorrow we will change it.
Yeah, we'll see. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Well, that concludes our another edition of Chit Chat. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a great Daytona 500 weekend.